Hypnos, and like every quiet night, I have a story to share. You may subscribe for the nights ahead. Close your eyes and let the story begin. On the Black Sea coast, where gulls circle above the harbors, and the wind carries the smell of salt and grain, there is a city called Simferopol. In 1987, it was part of the Soviet Union, a place of old trams rattling over tracks, market buzzing with voices, and children playing in courtyards until dusk painted the sky. It was here, in this ordinary city, with its mixture of mountains and sea, that a boy was born, Oleksandr Usyk. The world he entered was not one of riches or glamour. His parents lived modestly. His father worked with steady hands. His mother kept the home alive with warmth and care. The walls of their apartment were plain, the rooms simple, but within them lay the quiet foundation of discipline and love. As a boy, Oleksandr was full of energy, restless as the sea. He played football in the fields near his home, chasing the ball across dust and grass, his laughter echoing with other children. Neighbors recall how he was quick on his feet, clever, always smiling. Sport was not pastime for him, it was expression, a way to pull out the energy that seemed to overflow from his small body. But life in Crimea also carried its hardships. Times were often uncertain. Families learned to make do with little. The boy saw this, and it shaped him. He understood early that nothing was given easily. If he wanted something, he would have to earn it. One day, when he was still young, Oleksandr stepped into a small boxing gym. The building was unremarkable, the air thick with the smell of leather and sweat. The sound of gloves thudding against heavy bags filled the space, punctuated by the sharp calls of trainers. It was not glamorous, but it carried a rhythm that spoke to the boy. At first, he was small compared to others. His hands did not yet carry the weight of power, but his eyes carried determination. He studied the movement, the stance, discipline. He learned that boxing was not only about fists, it was about patience, about breathing, about knowing yourself and your opponent. His first punches were clumsy, his guard imperfect, yet he returned, day after day. Slowly, his body began to change. His steps grew lighter, his fists sharper, his will harder. Coaches noticed that he did not complain, did not give up. He worked silently, always with a faint smile, as though even the hardest drills were a game he intended to win. Outside the gym, he still chased visions, played football, laughed with friends. Inside, he was becoming something else. The boy from Simferopol was finding a calling, though he could not yet name it. Years later, when crowds would chant his name in great arenas, when light would shine on him from above, when belts of gold and leather would be placed upon his shoulders, he would often think back to those early days, to the small gym, the smell of leather, the sound of fists against canvas, the boy who discovered that greatness begins quietly. For now, he was simply Oleksandr, a child with wide eyes and endless energy, stepping into a world that would one day call him champion. In the small gyms of Simferopol, Oleksandr Usyk began to carve his path. The walls were faded, the equipment worn, but none of that mattered. Inside, the air buzzed with effort, and every sound seemed to carry purpose. The smack of gloves on heavy bags, the rhythm of skipping ropes slapping against wooden floors, the sharp calls of trainers urging boys to move faster, to guard tighter. Oleksandr Usyk listened carefully. He wasn't the biggest at first, not the strongest, but he was attentive. When his coaches corrected him, he adjusted. When they showed him a stance, he practiced until it became second nature. He discovered quickly that boxing was not just violence. It was art. Each movement had meaning. Each breath was part of a rhythm. He fought from the south pole stance, right hand forward, left hand ready like a hidden sword. It felt natural to him, awkward to opponent. They struggled against the angles he created. The way his punches seemed to come from places they didn't expect. Coaches nodded approvingly. This boy, they said, had something unusual. Training became his ritual. Mornings often began with long runs through the street of Crimea. Mist rising from fields, his breath steady, his feet finding rhythm on cracked pavement. Afternoons, mass drills, shadow boxing, endless repetition, weaving under ropes strength across the ring, throwing punches at pads until his arms trembled. Evenings brought sparring, where sweat and pride mixed under harsh light. But Oleksandr never lost his smile. Where others scowled with effort, he grinned. Where boys grew tense with nerves before sparring, he seemed relaxed, almost playful. It wasn't arrogance, it was joy. He loved the work, loved the ring, loved the test. Boxing was not punishment, it was discovery. At home, his parents watched with cautious hope. They knew the dangers of the sport, but they also saw how it gave their son direction. The streets outside offered temptation and trouble, but the gym offered discipline and purpose. They encouraged him even as money was scarce and opportunities uncertain. By his teenage years, Oleksandr was already standing out in competitions. Local tournament gave way to national contest. His name appeared on lists of winners. His hands raised more often than not. His style drew attention, awkward for opponent. graceful for spectators. He slipped punches with ease, landed counters with precision. Each victory fueled his dream. He began to imagine something greater. The world stage, the Olympics, the change to represent Ukraine in front of millions. It was a long road, but he was already on it. Step by step, punch by punch. In quiet moments, he still returned to simple joys. Kept pigeons on rooftops, like he had as a boy. He played football with friends, running freely across dusty fields. But beneath those ordinary days, something extraordinary was forming. The boy from Simferopol was becoming a boxer, not only in skill, but in spirit. His discipline, his joy, his resilience, these were the tools that would carry him far beyond the small gyms of Crimea, into arenas lit bright and the flags waving high. And soon the world would begin to notice. By his late teens, Oleksandr Usyk was no longer simply a promising boy in a local gym. He had become a fixture in Ukrainian amateur boxing. His southpaw stance, his playful yet disciplined approach, and his resilience made him stand out. Trainers spoke of him with respect, opponents prepared with unease. National tournament took him across Ukraine, to halls buzzing with spectators, to rings set up in towns where boxing was both sport and pride. The air smelled of charcoal and sweat, of canvas wrapped smooth by hundreds of matches before. Usyk moved through these arenas with growing confidence. His hands quick, his movement fluid. He wasn't only winning, he was learning. The amateur system demanded patience. Fighters were judged on precision, not knockout, on technique rather than brute force. Usyk adapted perfectly. He slipped punches, landed counters, controlled distance. His smile often appeared mid-fight, a grin that unsettled opponent, as if to say, "I enjoy this, do you?" By the early 2000s, he was competing internationally. European championships introduced him to fighters from Russia, Poland, England, Cuba. Men raised in story programs, fighters who carried reputations. Usyk met them all with composure. Sometimes he won, sometimes he lost, but always he left wiser. He climbed steadily. Bronze medals turned into silvers, silvers into golds. Coaches recognized his mental strength as much as his physical skill. He remained calm under pressure, never rattled by the roar of crowds or the weight of expectations. In 2008, he was part of the Ukrainian team at the Beijing Olympics. Though he did not medal that year, the experience fueled him. He returned hungrier, sharper. 4 years later, in London, he would have his redemption. But before the Olympics came to the World Championships, in 2011, in Baku, Azerbaijan, Usyk entered the ring against the best heavyweight the amateur world had to offer. Bout after bout, he advanced, his smile flushing, his southpaw style confusing rivals. In the final, he faced Artur Beterbiev, a Russian powerhouse. It was a fierce match, but Usyk's skill and movement carried him to victory. He stood tall with gold around his neck, world champion. For Ukraine, it was pride. For Usyk, it was a step forward toward the destiny he had envisaged as a boy. Olympic gold. The summer of 2012 brought Oleksandr Usyk to London, where the Olympic Games unfolded in a festival of color and sound. For athletes, it was the stage where years of sacrifice condensed into days, sometimes minutes. For Usyk, it was the moment he had imagined since he was a boy in Simferopol, lacing his first gloves in a modest gym. The boxing hall was filled with flags from every corner of the world, their colors rippling as crowds chanted, cheered, and stamped their feet. The ring, though small and square, seemed to hold the weight of nations. Each boot was more than a contest of skill. It was pride, identity, history. Usyk entered the heavyweight division. He carried himself with calmness, the same faint smile that had unsettled opponents for years. He walked into the ring as if into a familiar room, gloves tapping lightly together, eyes sharp but relaxed. While others scowled, he grinned, his joy unhidden. His early fight showed his mastery. He moved with unusual rhythm, dancing on his feet, slipping punches with ease. His southpaw stance created angles that left rivals swinging at air. When he countered, it was with precision, his punches landing crisp, his presence steady. Each victory brought him closer. The semi-final demanded everything. An opponent relentless, the crowd loud. But Usyk never wavered. He adjusted, jabbed, grinned through fatigue, and finished strong. His hand was raised, and with it, the promise of gold. The final bout placed him against Clemente Russo of Italy, seasoned fighter, twice a world silver medalist. The crowd roared for both men, their nation's hopes wrapped in their gloves. The bell rang and the fight began, tense, tactical, filled with exchanges that tested reflex and will. Russo pressed forward, but Usyk moved like a tide, flowing back, then surging with combinations. His smile flickered even in the fiercest moment, as if to say, I'm exactly where I belong. When the last round ended, both men stood in the center, waiting. The referee lifted Usyk's arm. Ukraine had its champion. Oleksandr Usyk was Olympic gold medalist. He dropped the flag of Ukraine across his shoulders. The anthem played, echoing through the arena. Usyk, hand on his heart, sang every word. For him, it was more than a medal. It was proof that the boy from Crimea, who trained in small gyms and chased pigeons on rooftops, had risen to the highest stage. The gold shone bright, but his eyes already looked forward. Amateur glory was complete. New chapter was waiting. Professional ranks, where bigger gloves, brighter light, and harder battles lay ahead. Olympic gold had placed Oleksandr Usyk among the best amateurs in the world. But gold medals, however bright, are not the end. For many, they are the beginning of something larger. After London 2012, Usyk stood at that crossroads. The amateur world had given him discipline, respect, and medals. The professional world promised brighter light, louder crowds, and harder tests. He chose the harder road. In late 2013, Usyk made his professional debut. He stepped into the ring with short hair, clean trunks, and the same faint smile. The gloves were heavier now, the rounds longer, the expectations greater. Yet from the opening bell, it was clear he belonged. He moved with confidence, his punches sharp, his rhythm awkward for rivals. He won by knockout, his hand raised high, and the professional journey began. The cruiserweight division became his stage. It was a weight class filled with power and durability. Fighters who could end a boot with a single blow. Usyk's task was to rise among them. Fight by fight, he did. His jab was crisp, his footwork dazzling, his stamina relentless. Where others stood flat, Usyk danced. Where others grew rigid, he flowed. In 2016, just 3 years into his professional career, he challenged Glowacki of Poland for the WBO cruiserweight title. The bout was fierce, but Usyk's skill shone through. After 12 rounds, the judges awarded him victory. He became world champion in only his 10th fight, a rare achievement, proof that his amateur pedigree had carried seamlessly into the professional ranks. Yet Usyk was not content with a single belt. He set his eyes on all of them. His goal was undisputed champion, to unify the WBO, WBC, IBF, and WBA titles. Few had done it. Few were still with such grace and speed. But Usyk carried belief as naturally as breath. Through 2017 and 2018, he entered the World Boxing Super Series, a tournament designed to crown the best cruiserweight on earth. Bout after bout, he faced champions, each one dangerous, each one confident. Against Maris Bridis in Latvia, he endured a war, edging victory by decision. Against Murat Gassiev in Russia, he boxed flawlessly, silencing the crowd with a masterclass. When the final bell rang, Oleksandr Usyk stood as undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. All 4 belts belonged to him. He had conquered the division, a feat that placed the name alongside the greats. For Ukraine, it was pride. For the boxing world, it was proof. And for Usyk, it was only another step. His smile returned as always, but his eyes looked upward to a heavier weight, to bigger man, to the challenge that had awaited every cruiserweight king before him, the heavyweight. The boy from Simferopol had become undisputed champion. Now he prepared to test himself against giant. By 2018, Oleksandr Usyk had already proven himself a world champion. Yet in his mind, one belt was never enough. Boxing was full of champions, but few carried all the belts at once. The dream of undisputed, to hold every major title in a single division, became his target. It wasn't just ambition, it was history calling. The World Boxing Super Series gave him the chance. A tournament with the best cruiserweight on earth. Each fight a test, each victory a step closer to greatness. Usyk entered with calm certainty. He was not the biggest puncher in the division, not the most intimidating at first glance, but his footwork, his angles, his intelligence set him apart. In January 2018, he traveled to Riga, Latvia, to face Mary's brightest for the WBC title. The arena pulsed with energy, the Latvian crowd roaring for their champion. The fight was brutal, both men trading fiercely. Yet through 12 rounds, Usyk's skill shone, edged the decision, unifying another belt. His smile afterward was tired but genuine, his words humble, his focus already shifting to the next step. The final came in Moscow against Murat Kasiev, an undefeated puncher with thunder in his fist. Many believed Usyk had met his match, but under the bright light, he boxed beautifully. His feet never stopped moving. His jab snapped like a wipe. His combinations flowed like water. Round after round, he controlled the fight. By the end, there was no doubt the judges awarded him victory. In that moment, Usyk became the undisputed cruiser heavyweight or cruiserweight champion of the world. All four belts WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO rested on his shoulders. He joined the rare company of fighters who had conquered an entire division. His triumph was celebrated not only in Ukraine, but across the boxing world. Commentators called him one of the best pound-for-pound fighters alive. Fans admired his humility, the way he thanked his team, the way he sang to the crowd after victory, his joy as unshakable as his discipline. But for Usyk, undisputed was not the end. It was a milestone, a bridge to something greater. He looked to the heavyweight division, where legends had been made, where giants stood. History had told that undisputed cruiserweight often sought to challenge the heavyweight. Evander Holyfield had done it. David Haye had tried. Usyk would follow. The belt glistened, his name etched into history, yet his gaze moved upward. The boy from Simferopol, once a child, chasing pigeons, now undisputed champion, prepared to step into the land of heavyweight, where the punches were harder, the bodies larger, and the risk greater. He smiled as he always did. For him, challenge was joy. After conquering the cruiserweight division, Oleksandr Usyk stood at a crossroads. He had every major belt, every honor, every proof that he was the best. To remain would mean defending what he already owned. To move up would mean facing giant. Men taller, heavier, stronger, with punches that could end night in a single second. For many, it would have been safer to stay. For Usyk, the path was clear. He would climb into the land of heavyweights. Skeptics filled the air. Commentators asked if his skills could survive against men 30, 40 pounds heavier. Fans wondered whether his light feet could still carry him when the punches grew heavier. Some doubted entirely, calling him too small for the division. But Usyk had faced doubt before. He welcomed it. His first steps at heavyweight were measured, careful. He fought Chaz Witherspoon in 2009, then Derek Chisora in 2020. Each bout showed flashes of what he could do. His feet still quick, his hands still sharp, his smile still steady. But questions remained. Could he do it against the very best? In 2021, the answer came. Anthony Joshua, Olympic gold medalist like Usyk, unified heavyweight champion, stood waiting in London. The fight was set at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, under the open sky, with thousands roaring. Joshua was the image of a modern heavyweight, tall, muscular, powerful. Usyk was smaller, leaner, less intimidating to the eye. But boxing is not decided by appearance. From the first bell, Usyk danced. His southpaw stance created angles. His jab pierced Joshua's guard. His footwork carried him away before counters could land. Round after round, Joshua pressed, but Usyk's rhythm unsettled him. The Ukrainian moved like water, slipping, darting, landing. In the 12th round, Usyk poured everything into his fist, driving Joshua to the ropes, sealing his triumph. When the decision was read, Usyk's arm lifted. The crowd stunned. He had done it. He was heavyweight champion of the world. For Ukraine, it was a moment of pride, a reminder of resilience in difficult times. For boxing, it was history, an undisputed cruiserweight stepping up to to conquer the heaviest division. For Usyk, it was joy. He dropped the blue and yellow flag over his shoulders, tears in his eyes, and sang softly in victory. A year later, in 2022, he defended his titles in a rematch. The stakes were higher, his homeland scarred by war, and again, Usyk boxed with skill and heart, outpointing Joshua to retain his belt. The victory was more than sport. It was symbol. Resilience carried in gloves, hope carried in movement. The heavyweight dream had become reality. Oleksandr Usyk, the boy from Simferopol, was now king of the biggest division in boxing. And yet, as always, he smiled. For greatness to him was not burden, but joy. With victory over Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Usyk had climbed to the summit of heavyweight boxing. He had already conquered cruiserweight, already unified every belt. Now he stood among giants, his name spoken with the same reverence as champions of old. Yet if you looked at him outside the ring, you might not have seen a king. You might have seen a man smiling easily, laughing with teammates, praying quietly before fight. For all the weight of his achievement, Usyk carried them lightly. His legacy was not only measured in belt, but in the way he lived his craft. He trained with discipline, raising or rising early, running miles in silence, skipping rope with rhythm that echoed like music. His preparation was not built on fury, but on focus. While others shouted promises, Usyk often smiled. While others glared, he joked. Yet behind the humor was steel. In 2022, as war touched his homeland, Usyk briefly set boxing aside to serve with territorial defense units in Ukraine. Images of the champion in the military gear spread across the world, proof that his loyalty to his country was deeper than any crown. When he returned to the ring, it wasn't only to defend titles, to carry the spirit of a nation. Each punch seemed to carry more than his own weight. It carried the resilience of his people. He retained his belt in the rematch with Joshua, his hand raised once more, the Ukrainian flag draped across his shoulders. Tears welled in his eyes as he sang softly, his voice breaking but steady. To the world, it was another victory. To him, it was testimony that sport could be more than entertainment, that it could be simple. In the years that followed, Usyk continued to inspire. Reporters asked about legacy, about history, about where he belonged among the great. He smiled, shrugged, and spoke of training, of family, of faith. To him, greatness was not in statistics, but in honesty, in discipline, in humility. Fans admired him not only for his skill, but for his spirit. He never mocked opponent, never carried arrogance. He carried humor, warmth, and unshakable will. In arenas, thousands chanted his name. In homes, millions watched his fight, yet he remained grounded. The same boy from Simferopol who once chased visions on rooftops, who once dreamed of something larger than himself. His legacy is still being written. Each fight, each step adds another line. But even now, it's clear Oleksandr Usyk stands as a symbol of resilience, of discipline, of quiet strength. He's a man who smiled in the face of doubters, who rose through every weight, who carried his country's flag higher than belt and gold. And when history remembers him, it will not only be as champion, it will be as a man who showed that greatness can be humble, that power can be joyful, that legacy can be carried, not with roar, but with song. The boy from Crimea became Olympic gold, undisputed cruiserweight, heavyweight champion. His story is not yet finished, but already it shines. This was Hypnos. Another story has been told, and now it's time to rest. Good night.